Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. It's Millie as always, and we're concluding finally the Larp of epic proportions. We're finally getting around to recording our Sunday episode of Oasis 2. For anyone that needs a little bit of context, this has taken us eight weeks. I'm going to throw the number out there.
I've no idea.
No
we started this
I
before
don't know.
Eldritch. We started
Yeah.
recording this before Eldritch Isle, which was
Which was only like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh God, don't say that. It feels like a lifetime ago.
It's because of the insane density of art we've been doing. That's why.
We've done Eldritch. We've now done E4.
6 weeks.
It's been 2.
Yeah, 6 weeks. I'm only 2 weeks.
Yeah,
off.
it was Oasis, a gap, Eldritch, a gap, E4. I'm sure of that.
We're
none
very.
of us had more than one single weekend between a LARP.
My fiance loves me.
And I'm busy for the next 2, so you know.
Yeah, God, I wish the rate of LARPs was slowing down, but it is not.
It's not.
It's still going.
Amping up.
We're almost at the end of LARP season though. What are your guys' last?
What does that mean, Millie? Millie, what does that mean anymore?
LARP season. It's
It just keeps going.
Supposedly Bastion, but with the number of other waiting lists I'm on, we could be going until December at this rate.
I have a LARP in December. Like I'm not.
Which one are you going to in December?
I'm going to A Foot on the Stairs, which is like a 1930 parlor LARP in the big fancy country house, which I'm very excited for.
Oh, that'd be nice.
But yeah, so like it just doesn't end. It keeps going.
Oh God,
There is no end.
Flying Lead Nightmare is my end, and that is my hard. I'm so excited. It's going to be so good.
So excited for Flying Lead Nightmare.
So close. I can taste it.
Anyway, we're getting distracted.
Yeah, already.
Sunday of Oasis. Who wants to kick us off?
It's quite uneventful, really.
I don't know much happened. It's really short.
Look, you say that, but it actually was for me for a good chunk of this morning. Like I mean, let's face it, I just had a night where I hadn't drunk anything and I'd had some painkillers to get to bed. So I was very chill the next morning. I lay back on the chaise lounge and just chilled with the rest of the security with some music on in the sunshine. And it was lovely. Mm-hmm. Whenever anyone came over to say, security, what are you doing? We need your help. We were like, nah.
Not interested.
Not yet. So yeah. That's me for a good hour of the morning, I'm gonna say. Like from time in throughout the first hour.
Did you just decide to do nothing then? Like straight away? Or had you already decided that the night before?
No, I was waking up. No, nothing was really going on. Bearing in mind, security had, or should I say, team. Oh my god, it's been so long. What was Eddie's characters?
Hagen.
Team Hagen had already plans to leave. We'd already, sort of sorted things in order. So it was just chill, relax, wait. Don't busy yourself too much. Don't get in too much trouble.
Because there was actually filming in the morning, wasn't there?
Yeah, we were doing a couple of pickups and bits.
Yeah, because I think you had to finish a scene first, didn't you, Morgan?
Yeah, so we had the fight scene, the fabled fight scene that got interrupted by fascists the day before. So we had to finish that off. We changed location a little bit. The excellent line, which is, "What is mayonnaise anyway?"
Iconic.
Quite a good moment I had on set was when we went on and Bong comes up to me. He's like, "Sorry, sir, is that a loaded gun?" I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Can you unload it?" I'm like, "I don't want to." And he was like, "I'm afraid for safety on set, you're going to have to." I just pulled the gun out, opened the little thing that kept the bullets in, just emptied them on the floor in front of him, just maintaining eye contact, closed it, put it back in my holster and went on to set. And he was just like, "You didn't have to." And then I picked all the bullets off the
compliance. Yeah.
But it was
you
literally
had a fight, didn't you? You went to a fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
During the fight scene, I accidentally actually punched the person I was fighting in the face.
Oh
so
my!
That turned into a real brawl.
Did you OC punch her?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So I accidentally punched her in the face. So furiously, she kicked me between the legs. And I was like, "What is wrong with you?" And
oh my god, amazing!
Back again.
It got into a real scuffle. I was like, "Really now? Really now?"
It was really funny.
Now is the time.
But yeah, that was fun doing the fight scene. But yeah, the malicious compliance. Oh yeah, it was like, is that a real knife in your boot? And I was like, yes. It's like we're in a lot of danger here, so I feel like okay, it was very good.
Everyone's had loaded guns since about 1 o'clock yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
that's a real knife.
But how did you guys differentiate between? Was there any differentiation between like the prop knives that was supposed to be the blunted ones from the film crew, or did you just like?
I was like, it's at discretion. So I was kind
fair.
of like, my knife was my knife.
Nah.
But if I was given a prop knife, that was whatever they told me. So I was like, this is a real knife. So if anybody asks me what it is, I will say it's a real knife.
No one ever gave me any weapons. Oh, I had a gun at one point, and I was deathly afraid by that point that everything was going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Did anyway. But then I think we had to do our final thing, so we just had like a very short scene of shooting something, and I
yeah,
I basically said like I'm
now.
not doing anything. I'm not getting into costume. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's just one little thing. And I was like, yeah, but it could go horribly, horribly wrong. I'd been talking to Circuit, Lydia, as well, about like, you need to just not do this. But OC, everyone really wanted to see that final SFX thing.
Yeah.
So it tried that hard to convince them not to.
Squibs are so much fun.
I really needed that last scene to go off. It had to happen. So
it was really cool. The squid are amazing. We are jumping way ahead.
I was going to say, it was quite a bit before that.
Sorry.
Yes,
I know I was doing at this point, and then I can kind of keep quiet for a little bit. So I spoke to the assistant to the costume department, and I was saying, the green room area? I think when we film the final scene, we need everybody out of the green room area. Because there'll be noise, they'll be in shot. So if we can just, when we're doing the filming, move everyone to the far end of town, make sure the green room's completely empty, because otherwise it's going to be a nightmare. And they're like, yeah, that's a really good point. So we'll try and sort that. And I was like, good. And then I got my little snub-nosed revolver. I loaded it with some bullets. And I found a hut. And I sat in the hut for like a good amount of time. Anyway, what else happened that morning?
It's like, what were you doing in the hut, Morgan?
Yet again, I was there like, where did Jack go? It's really weird. Again.
Oh God, evil genius. PT P. Yates was having a lovely morning, chain smoking his cigarettes, chatting with his crew, bossing poor Jay around. So for the Gorgon team is so unused to doing like in character stuff that that Emma and Dave let me choose their character names. So I deliberately kept on changing their character names every 5-6 minutes.
It's amazing.
Except for Dave, who was constantly Gertrude. So we called Dave Gertie. Jay was Dick. So P was always looking for his own dick. It was great. And then
differently vibed weekend. Sounds awesome, but man, we were in different genres. I think.
Yeah, I think we had some very different LARP experiences this weekend. But yeah, it was pretty chill for P because we'd already rigged the scene for later, so we were just having a nice time. There was no big requirement for the SFX department or the art department in the morning scenes, except for a LARP safe cactus, which I had great fun playing with. It was our good friend Aidan had made it, and like it was incredible. It was the best thing I'd seen all weekend, and so we spent most of the morning trying to sneak it into the back of shots.
There is an absolutely spectacular photo of it being used in a different way later on.
Yes,
hopefully it can be shared with this post because it's such a good photo.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to see a man beaten to death with a cactus? Come to Oasis too. But yeah, it was fun, and I got to another thing Aidan had made was a tumbleweed on a stick.
Tumbleweed on a stick.
Tumbleweed on a stick was
Please.
incredible. Especially when I used that tumbleweed on a stick to school Hank, my prop master, mercilessly. And I was like, and I was deliberately teaching him to do it wrong. So I was like, now a tumbleweed, Hank, floats on the breeze. So it's like, go upwards, Hank, up. And it was really fun. We had very different days on the Sunday.
We did. But it sounds like fun. Like, you know, you make your own joy at these LARP things, and you had a great time. We also
Messing about
very, very different ways.
Yep.
Sol got to hang out on a chaise-longue in the sun for a while.
Not everyone wants to play Trauma LARP, you know?
Yeah.
Some people,
Not everyone
want to have fun.
chose to play Trauma LARP.
I'm not gonna lie. I might have been a little more energetic had I not been to A&E the day before.
Yeah, you might have a reason. You might have.
You got quiched, to be fair.
You got quiche.
He done got quiched.
Oh, that poor quiche. It was really good though, to be fair. It was very
Nice quiche. Good on. Might have it at Hoist again. We'll see.
Oh God.
I will be doing all of the cutting of the quiche at Hoist.
It's healed pretty well. Like,
yeah, so that's not the point.
next week on next week's episode, find out what Mattie did when cutting the quiche.
Look, I have said that there's one hand-related A&E incident per vintage LARP now at EYELARP.
Somehow Mattie cuts the quiche and Sol still loses a finger.
That would be awful. Oh my God.
Oh God.
But back onto Oasis 2, since we're all very distracted thinking about all the other amazing things to do. I don't know, I had a very busy morning.
But
I feel like there was so many little things that, I mean, I have a lot written down here.
I can see.
As you can see, I've already crossed out things I haven't even said. There was a lot of like tying up the Saturday night because so much had happened on the Saturday night, and then going into Sunday morning. But there was so much to like try and finish arc wise or even just thread wise of like getting out of there, what's going to happen with Jack and Gianna and the Romanos, like are we leaving, are we not leaving, are we trying to get other people out? There's this whole cursed items thing, are you filming, are you not filming? And it was just, there were so many things going on. And I remember coming in just before time in and sitting down the chaise-longue, having a nice chat with everyone and breakfast, and then someone being like, I think we're time in now, and I was like, oh God, okay. I just literally walked around the cabins and came back. I was like, that I needed that. And oh my God,
I was just sat there with you, but like, I just stayed there. I didn't move.
Yeah, you didn't need to. You didn't need to. I had to go from yay, I'm having a lovely time to oh my gosh, everything sucks. How are we gonna survive this one? Because we'd had the whole car thing. We didn't know how we were gonna get out. There was no way out. There was no escape. I was desperate to leave. I was like, I'm going to try and call. Can't call. What are we going to do? I'm not going to film. No one's like, blah, blah, blah. And then they finally did an announcement of, right, we've decided that at 5 o'clock this evening, we're going to be getting all the buses. They're going to come and get you, and you're going to go to a new location, and you'll have a 5-day break, and then we're going to pick up filming somewhere else. And I was like, oh, thank God. Finally, I have like a justification to not just be running around like a headless chicken for the next hour or two. Hubris on that one, but yeah, it was needed, I think, plot wise. And I don't know if that was a plot decision or if that was because the only person I heard it from was a player, was Hazel playing the first AD. Like, oh, thank goodness, thank you. There was just so many little moments that I had, and I think that was why this is such a good event.
I think before I did kind of bundle away into a hut, there was like some really meaningful moments. There's a fantastic picture of it which came out recently of the filming of that scene where we had the fight, and there's a picture of Jack and Gianna just sat next to each other, just kind of looking at each other in such poignantly different ways, where G has like a look of real hope on her face and happiness, this kind of like, oh, fantastic, a future, and I just look so sad, like there's so much pain in my eyes, and I'm just like,
yeah,
because like again, like I've spoilers, there's one more person I have to kill, and I'm like I need to pull this off. I've done so much to get here. Dealing with the guilt of leaving these restless souls here. All this.
There was so much. I remember you saying at one point, and this sort of started to kick things off in terms of the sort of final ending of everything when I got really suspicious, was when you were like, I can't tell you anything, but I've got something in the works with the Romanos, but I can't tell you anything about it. And I was like, okay. You just have to trust me on this one. I was like, I don't know. Within the back of my head being like, I know we'd had that conversation yesterday, OC, like, is this a betrayal? You're just going to run off? Like, okay, fine, cool, great. But I don't know. I mean, it was nothing of the sort, but I did immediately turn around to the Romanos. I had a whole conversation with the Romanos, which was actually really nice, like really intense, but quite calm roleplay. I've not had a great big opportunity to roleplay with like Isaac that much. The others I've had like individual conversations with, but not really with Isaac. So as Frank, it was really interesting to have all this negotiation around like, right, yesterday was a bit intense, so maybe we hold horses on that. But let's all go somewhere safe after this, and we were negotiating like where to go, where's a good place, and we'll talk about things. And they were like, we approved blah blah blah, all this stuff. Oh, we can go later, and it'll be fine. And I was like, I'm gonna leave your business out of it. And they got very offended. It was very funny. I was like, no, I think I know what your business is. I'm gonna leave your business out of it. I managed to walk out just in time to hear them talking about, oh yeah, well, obviously Gianna and Jack both have to go back to New York. I was like, what? What do you mean? They're like, oh yeah, because we're all going home. I was like, no. I'm pretty sure Jack's from Texas. That's like a thing. That's like his thing. I know that. They were like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, that. I was like, oh, I don't like that things are starting to add up now in this little like weird mystery thing. And I just kind of went to Frank. I was like, oh, so Jack's got something going on with you guys. And he was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not going to ask you to tell me anything about that because I don't know if I want to know. And also, he said trust, so I'm going to trust. But that's happening. He was like, yeah. Then I just walked off and I was like, oh man, something's going to go horribly, horribly wrong. And, did it? That remains to be seen.
No.
It did. It very much did. It went.
It really
wrong.
did very much go wrong.
Yeah. I think we filmed, 2 scenes, and then it was during. Everything really kicked off at the end, didn't it? It was that final scene.
There were actually a couple of other things that occurred prior to that final scene. So I was sat in the green room, as I said. I did barely move, but at one point, the chief of police from the nearby station,
yes,
come and talk to Mr. Hagen in the green room
They
in the
brought
office.
someone back, didn't they?
Who was it they brought back?
They brought back the bear handler.
Yes, the animal handler.
It was the bear handler. You're right.
They'd arrested him the day before.
So apparently, I think the words of the Spanish police officer is basically the bear handler had tried to get away, had got caught at a checkpoint, arrested. Then when they spoke to him, found out he was not really anything of harm and brought him back. But essentially, this was where they gave us the information that the entire film set or the area around it had been locked down. There's a bunch of checkpoints everywhere. So if you try and flee, you're going to run into a checkpoint, be arrested, thrown in jail, basically not be able to leave because of a mixture of the fascists in the area and other extremism and whatnot. At which point, Mr. Hagen, I can't remember how, because it's been too long, but Mr. Hagen, being Mr. Hagen, managed to convince the captain to go and have a chat with him to the side and get him to draw down an exact route of, exactly where all of these checkpoints were on the map so that we could have a route later to avoid them all. And I think it was via a lot of money handed over. It was quite amusing while we sat there and Hagen sorted that one out. Then they left very happily. But that was like the first setup of the morning. Was now we have our route.
You were all seven steps ahead of us.
Oh yeah,
at least.
So yeah, it was at that point that basically the plan was confirmed. We're going to leave at lunch. I think that's when we started making sure we got everyone who
You put the things on, right?
and we put on the little white cloth strips. We found a bit of white cloth that we cut into strips, tied them around them. It was basically Hagen's way of saying, if you ever come into contact with the men or the people that he's convinced, they'll know you're with them because of the little white mark.
Whoa.
So we all tied that around like buttons or on lapels and whatnot, and we given it to any and everyone who had sort of been part of that the night before. And
I was so silently threatening to see. It might not have been deliberately so, but suddenly seeing like this gathering people and then noticing this on everyone's chest, being like, I feel tense immediately seeing this, and I don't really know why. It was really cool from the outside.
Yeah, well, you're being excluded from the group. They're going to get away.
I did try and get Lydia in that group, and Hagen hit me with a, we can't save everyone. And I got to throw his words from the night before back into his face, which was really good. And
yeah, but we managed to save Charlie and Langdon at a last minute.
You did! Lydia followed her own path.
It was quite amusing. It ended up with Scarlett had typed up a full-on work visa. Or like a work excuse for them being there. So because they didn't have any passports, like half of us had already been given. So anyone who had passports was fine. We've got the papers. We had to create papers for them, like work permits, to hopefully get those people through and get them all to sign. So we had like Langdon, we had Corporal Charlie, we had, it was all of them, getting all of them to write down their bits on the paper.
So good.
You guys are amazing, honestly. Like the amount of detail that you guys put into the game, even the set dressing, the passports,
do not
everything.
Take credit. That is all Eddie.
I know.
That was
it's so
all
upsetting.
Eddie and co. It was incredible. They brought so much to the first game and just made that happen. Obviously, not just Eddie. I think we've mentioned most before. Jack as well.
Theo.
The only thing I contributed was the clothes rack. That's it. Nothing.
And it was the best goddamn clothes rack in the entire island.
I love a clothes rack.
There was one other bit of plot that occurred prior to everything else happening that was also thrown in there for the security to go and deal with, which was the set is under attack. It's on fire.
Oh yeah.
So people rushed in, and the set that you were supposed to be filming at was under attack. It's been set on fire by the Spanish locals.
No one cared.
Everyone looked around the green room and went, "Yeah, we don't care.
They can have it
filming anyway. They can have it." But Benny was the only one who went, "All right, fine. I'll go have a look. If Mr. Hagen, you want me to." So off he goes, and he's been Benny Digby has had 2 grenades in his pocket the entire weekend, and is waiting to use them. So when he gets there, sees the set on fire, and sees this rabble crowd sort of shouting and jeering, mostly unarmed, like Spanish civilians, as far as I'd been recounted. He went, right, sounds like a job for Gertrude. Job's done.
Amazing.
No negotiation, nothing else, just dealt with it in one. And of course, anyone who lasted left. And he was like, "Yeah, sorted, Mr. Hagen," as he popped back. Finally got to use him.
I remember, was that when I remember going over vaguely in that direction? I can't remember why, but the Romanos were coming out because all I remember is Ren decking Esme. And I do not have any context for that at all. There was just a bit of a hoo-ha, and I looked over, and coming out of Viking were the Romanos, and for some reason Ariadne. I think Ariadne had already had beef over the whole eye patch thing. She was getting really nasty about the eye patch, and just being like, "Oh my god, she's on the floor. What happened? No idea. Still don't know. Absolutely no context. Brilliant."
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't just Digby. I think the Romanos probably were over there for it too. But as I said, I sat on the chaise longue and ignored it. So that was my morning.
So valid. Sometimes you just got to lie down in the sun. I think there's still a picture of me from Oasis 1 doing exactly that. It was really nice weather that weekend.
Yep.
It's one of like being a fly on the wall at LARP is one of my favorite things to do because you get to absorb so much plot by just being around other people. It's so good.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that at Eldritch. But the arrested the bear handler from who was I think called Frank Royce, and I only remember that because my character's actual surname was also Royce, and I remember being like, "That's funny." Never going to come up though. And then I think this was when he came back and talked to the Romanos about the car.
Mm.
And it must have been while we were still filming because it was before the final shot. It was probably while you guys were setting up for that big final shot, actually, because they disappeared off into the woods, and I just went and stood on the edge of town for a while. Like, that could go one of two ways, and I know what's going to happen. And then these little gunshots started popping off, and I was like, but it still could be one of two ways. And then there were just too many gunshots. And I think Jack came over and was just like, it's quite a lot of gunshots. And I was like, yeah, that's too many for family. I think family business came up, and we're like, yeah, it's too many for family business. And then, oh my God, Evelyn came running up from wherever they'd been, being like, they've been shot. Someone's down. I think it was Jono's dead or something. We're like, oh my God, what has happened? In the 5 minutes they've been going, so we just legged it down the pathway to find poor Ruth as Gianna, who's weeping on the floor again. It's the third time in 12 hours she's weeping on the floor, and Gianna is dead. It was a really bad time. We had to bring him all back. I can't really remember much other than carrying Gianna back up, and then I think Hagen got involved trying to save him. There was so much going on for it being really just the morning of the LARP. There was again so much happening.
There was so much with all of the individual groups as well. It was film crew were prepping for the next scene. Then all of the Romanos had their plot going off. Security had their plot, and I was just there in the middle, I am ready. I had a bucket on my head at some point, I think. Thank you so much,
Why?
Gertrude. I'm just going to leave it there.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, you were just hanging out on the side. It looked lovely.
I had a lovely time.
Maybe one day I'll play your LARP.
You really should, but then also you play my LARP at Eldritch and or Empire, and it becomes suddenly something very different. What happened between the Romanos coming back and us shooting that final scene? Because I don't think there was that much, was there? It was just kind of settling the Romanos down.
One thing I think
they had a costume kerfuffle.
Was the costume kerfuffle that I wasn't involved in. But there was one more thing I think happened before the filming of the final scene, because that's when things start to kick off, and then the fascists arrive, I believe, pretty shortly after that.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had also been given a heads up by Kitty because I missed a lot the night before. She was like, yo, so I know you've been kind of following this for quite a while. No one's checked Matilda's cabin. And I was like, oh, should I go and check Matilda's cabin then? You might want to do that this morning.
The mirror, yeah.
So
damn.
Freddie gets a brainwave and is like, we actually haven't checked the cabin. Mainly, I think, weirdly, the reason I hadn't personally thought about it is because it was a player cabin, and I was like, it still had the name on it, and I was like, cool, I'm not thinking that's in-game. But it was in-game, turns out. We just hadn't realised. So we went in, and in there I found a mirror next to a cooking pot, and the mirror was clearly the one that we'd seen the night before at the rushes. In the cooking pot, there was another final letter. So I gave that a read while I was in there. I then went outside and called some people over that I know had been interested, like Ellie, to come and have a look and see what had occurred. And then, but this was it, right? I was sort of, ending up handing over the mirror. The only thing we had to find left was the painting. But I was also well aware with Freddie this morning that I'm not interested in this because we're leaving anyway. So it was kind of like I'm doing this for the rest of you now. I'm quite happy to help you solve the mystery, but also I don't need to be involved in this mystery.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's my thoughts. Have the mirror. I'm off.
Back to Michelle's long.
So again, I think we then started trying to collect all the last bits and bobs before the final scene was shooting. And there was one little bit which makes a lot more sense now. If Jack had wanted to get everyone out of the green room, the security were very adamant that we did not want to leave that green room. And it led to quite an antagonistic conversation of them going, "Oh well, we'll cut your pay. You won't be paid." The funny thing is that's an empty threat, because already Hagen
Hagen was paying
transferred
everyone.
all of the
Mhm.
funds across to himself anyway, and was paying us all anyway. So we were like, no, we don't care. We don't want to be in this final shot. And they were being very adamant. No, you've got to be in this final
Oh
shot.
yeah, I
Be
remember
behind it."
because
And we were
also
like,
within our contracts we found out that this would have been breach of contracts. We weren't allowed to work more than one job on the film set, so we couldn't be crew members and background artists at the same time.
Yeah. exactly.
I remember this bit.
Those contracts were amazing.
They were
They
so
were
good.
very adamant, but we understood what they were actually saying, so we headed over anyway to watch it, but we're just not being in the background. And then it was the final scene, right? I think.
Mhm.
Oh,
Unless anyone else has
so
got
good.
anything else to add.
God, I don't even know. We did have a funeral for Giorno, so I've just spotted that. And it was really funny because Hagen was there and everyone did the whole let's go Mets thing. And then he shot in the air to be like, one final one for Giorno. And of course, everyone immediately panicked and kept running into the bar like, gunshots. We're like, no, this one's fine. I promise. It's like the only good gunshot. It was just a let's go Mets. Don't worry about it.
I will always go by this saying that Oily taught me at Eversley, is that one shot is a misfire or somebody fucking about. When there's two, you're in trouble. The
Yep.
problem is that people have now got tri-fire SMGs, so then they go 3 shots in very quick succession. So, but anyway, doesn't matter. Either.
You have
It's
to
grim.
readjust that then in that
Yeah.
case.
No, it still
Oh my
stands in
gosh.
most circumstances.
Yeah. It's
think-
a good
Ooh.
logic to live by at Eversley.
Oh no, I remember something, but it's actually afterwards, so it's all fine. The order of this is really hard to keep straight.
I
in my
know.
head.
It's almost like it was 6 weeks ago.
Does our SFX expert want to talk us through this final scene?
Oh yeah. So this scene, it was the big sort of the whole kind of like traditional Western standoff, like really, really key part, lots of things. We had like Circuit was dressed in this really cool poncho and had this really cool cowboy hat, and then did the whole like lean the brim of your hat down and then do the slow reveal. Oh, so good. And it was was it Theo's character? Was it his character that was facing off against them? Yeah. So they had their really sick dialogue. They were having so much fun with it and being really good. And the whole premise of the scene is that that Theo's character like shoots Circuit, and there's no effect. And it's the slow reveal as the poncho comes off of the chest plate, this like steel chest plate, and it's like, no, shoots again. Squib goes off. And a squib, for anyone that doesn't know, is a small amount of explosives that you either pack with sparking material that makes like a flash as if you've hit metal, or blood. It's what we use in the film industry. It's great. Sparks fly. They keep shooting. Bam, bam, bam. And nobody goes down. It's so good. And you're just like watching all of like the Gorgon team going like, it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. And then
It looked incredible. I had
so
perfect
good
view from right behind the camera, and it was just, I can't wait to see if they've managed to get some footage of it.
Honestly, it was so good. It was so fun. And like I got so distracted by the squibs. I think towards like Circuit's character does eventually like get killed, right? Circuit ends up on the floor, and so the scene ends. It's all really wonderful.
There were at least 6 or 7 gunshots and squibs that go off, and then the final one goes off. And from where I'm standing looking at this, I think, okay, now Lydia's going to go down. Lydia does not fall to the ground. Ariadne, the costume designer, directly behind
oh my God,
her,
I remember this.
Screams as another squib goes off,
Oh
which
my
was
God,
unexpected,
yes.
and starts
so
like
good.
howling about how she's been shot. It was mind blowing because
so good.
No one could figure out where it had come from. We were like, what? Where?
It was also like because there was an actual like SFX rig in within Ariadne's costume, there was so much fake blood pouring out of Esme.
Like burst out.
Yeah, and it was like, and we were just there like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah, I completely
It was
forgot about that
incredible.
bit. It was
Everyone was
so
running
good.
around being like, "We need to find someone who's not here. We need to find someone. Like, where is everybody? We got to have a look for somebody." And it going through my brain over and over and over and over and over again. As I was just like, "Oh, where is Jack? No,
And
please, no."
and where was Jack? All good.
So there's a hut in like the alley just next to the green room, with a tiny little window and no other way of seeing in. And for about half an hour, I'd been sat there with my snub-nosed revolver, waiting. And then I could start to hear movement going on outside. And I was like, okay, they're getting ready to go. I heard the argument in the green room, and then they all left. And then I heard action called. Looked out the window, the coast was clear. And where I was stood, there was a tree, and I could get stood right next to that tree. And where I was stood, I could see Ariadne. And so, paff, the script goes off. Paff, the script goes off. Bang! Adney goes down. I put the gun in my pocket. The gun of which only Elna and Gianna are aware that I even own. No one else knows I have this gun. So I had my other revolver, which everybody knew, had 6 fresh bullets in. So if anyone asked, I could get those 6 bullets out and I could show them 6 absolutely pristine bullets. I had not shot anyone. The gun hadn't even been fired, in fact. So I could be like, you check the gun, it's clean, it's not been shot. But I had 1 expended bullet in my own gun. That didn't come up, but I was like, if anybody wants to check my guns, they will see 1 expended bullet. I run, sprint down the back amongst the commotion, around all the back of the huts, and appear at the back, and just stand there and don't say anything. And then people are like, where were you? I was like, I was in my dressing room. Why? What have I missed? And they were like, Ariadne's been shot. And they're like,
Oh my God.
you know, it was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? What's happening? Like, for real?
Audacity. Oh my God.
Eleanor said something to me.
I did. I was so suspicious, but not. But then I was
said
also
something
like,
to me
no
like,
one else there.
Yeah, you were like, no one else could have done that, basically.
Yeah. No, I remember coming over to you and being like, I'm just gonna ask you a question, and like, just try and I can't remember if I said like, just do me the courtesy of like being honest, or don't worry, like, please forgive me for asking the question. And I was like, but you didn't shoot Ariadne, did you? And he went, no. And I was like, oh, that wasn't wonderfully convincing. Oh no, but it's probably fine. It's probably fine. But it was just another moment in so many that started to it just spiraled from that point.
The Romanos came up to me, they're like, where were you? And I was like, I was in my dressing room. I was like, well, you have to tell us next time because we need to protect you. Right? Okay? Tell us where you're going. I'm like, you're right. I'm really sorry. I am going to my dressing room now because I wish to change. Okay? So I leave, I get changed into my normal clothes, and I come back, and I'm like, everything's fine. She's alive still. That was stressful. That was very stressful. She was still alive. And I was like, that is deeply unpleasant. And I'm just wandering around town at this point, chatting about, to get out of here. And I'm now like, done. I'm done.
No,
Everyone I need to kill is dead.
Something that happened now, though, because in the time that it took you to go and change, everyone started looking for the painting. It was before the fascists. But for some reason, suddenly everyone was like, we need to go and check. We need to find this painting. I genuinely can't remember why it came up at all. But then you came back.
Mirror thing. So,
okay. So it was all kind of slightly concurrent, like in that beautiful way that real life happens. Not that it was real life, but it was like real life.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I mean. But you came back, and I just remember thinking, like, we're looking for a painting. You've been really sus. You've just gone back to your dressing room again. It says on the call sheet, we've all got these weird things listed of like what we request, right? And yours is 3 paintings in the dressing room. Like, they must be 3 landscape paintings. I was like, there's no, I can't. But what if it is? Like, they're just maybe. I don't know. So I just remember being like, okay, I'm gonna go and fuck. I guess I'm gonna have to go and ask, and be like, hey, this is a weird question, because also at this point I still didn't know you were crew, so there was an element of me being like, you didn't get to choose that, like, because none of us picked what was on ours. So like, is this a thing or is this not a thing? And you just immediately went, let's go check. Do you want to go check?
You know how many times I commented on how much I love art and how much I know about art and how much I can appreciate good art and how much I'm interested in art all the time. I was like, I know about it. Then when we went out and I saw the rest of crew, because we went out to the crew area, and I said, 2 players here, very loudly, so that people didn't go, start referencing the fact.
I had no idea. There was no point in doing that. I was so
but I didn't want them to start talking to me like I'm crew. So I was like, 2 players here, we're checking this thing. And they were like, yeah, it's unlikely, but we'll radio in. And I'm sat there being like, the painting is in the bar.
You were like, let's just go over this way a little bit. Let's just move over this way a little bit. It's fine.
It's like, the painting is in the bar. They radioed Kitty. Kitty was like, they rip open the paintings, they find nothing, and we go back to town.
Yeah, which was, you know what, not a bad move, because immediately as soon as people started asking about those paintings, I was like, no, we checked. Like, we checked those paintings. It's not there. Like, he doesn't know where they are.
There's ruddy paintings as I came back from A&E last night, you know? Like, it had been hinted to me, and we'd found the frame, and I was like, well, someone's ripped it out, and I have no idea, therefore, where to look. Because also, on top of that, it was kind of being hinted as if we're just being dumb and cannot find it. No, it had been hidden really well. I mean, granted, it was in an obvious space, as we found out last time, just behind the bar for a very long time. But it was still not obvious enough, you know?
It wasn't. So it was actually, there was a tube in the bar. And you could see it. Like, if you were stood there, if like, it was like very much like, it's one of those things, right? It's like, if people really wanted to look for it and started to dig around, they would have found it. But people were kind of like, it's not obvious, can't kind of vibe it out. It moved a few times as well, because again, we got it out and inspected it and moved it and tossed it this way and that. But there was very much a case of like, and I also know that the players that knew would also told other people. Because like I was like, I trusted them to widen the circle because they're good. So they apparently quite a few people knew about this painting at this point. But yeah, it was a very funny moment. Everyone trying to find it, and I'm like, it's fine. I've killed my last person. They're dead. It's time to leave. We can leave now. This is fine. This is all good. And then
some other people turned up demanding the painting.
So me
actually, there is one small thing that happened before this, or rather, it's more of a point of order, and I mean literal chronological order. Everyone is looking for the painting. People keep saying the painting's in the bar. Can't find it in the bar. Someone says, Ren comes in as Nina's like, it's behind the bar. It's behind the building. I think myself and one other person, I can't remember who, went out and had a look for it.
This came later.
No, because the fascists had not shown up yet.
No, they must have done, because
they definitely did.
I tell you what, they appear as this is happening.
No, because
I went to the back of the bar. I couldn't find it. I walked back outside. No fascists. Kitty came up to me and was like, "No, you're going to find something."
This was definitely mid-attack because I had my breakdown.
Well, it wasn't mid-attack. It was the fascists had definitely turned up because the whole reason why everyone was so antsy.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right.
That's why Ren would have said it's behind the bar because
you're right. Yeah.
So we had.
Yeah.
It was Jack, Elna, and Gianna were chatting, and then there was fucking gunfire, and Gianna did that. I've said this to Ruth since I've never swooned so hard as Gianna just goes to both of us. Stay here. Pulls out a gun and goes to shoot some fascists
in her wedding dress.
In a wedding dress, I was
with
like,
an eye patch.
I was like,
I'm still my beating heart. Like that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Everything kicks off.
Yeah, carry on. No, because I was just going to carry on swooning about Ruth and how incredible they are. So it's all fine.
Love it. Absolutely love it. No, we went into one of the alley things, the three of us like hiding up the back there because I'm the only one without a gun. Just being like, okay, please, I don't want to die. Ruth goes marching off. I turn round. I think I was looking after where Ruth was gone, just in time to see you slip away. and then was like distracted by more gunfire or whatever. So what happens next to me, I'm gonna wait for, because it was.
I
chef's
hear the gunfire slowly stops, and I hear, we know you have the painting. We've heard spies. Everyone's like, we don't know where it is, and one of the fashion goes, your stuntman does, and then I just hear Hagen scream, Jack, and I
Oh
just
my gosh.
shit myself.
Oh well, no, but it was before then. Because the first I'd heard before, you must have been having this conversation at the same time. I was standing like between these things, like pressed up against the back of the thing, and someone screamed. I think it was Evelyn screamed, "Gianna's been shot." Gianna's been shot, and I was like, "Jack's just left, as usual. Where is Jack?" Classic at this point. Jack's gone. Gianna's been shot, and she was carried back round to me, and we were on the ground, and like. Oh, it was horrible and amazing at the same time. I mean, as you know, it can be. As she's like blubbering on the ground, being like, "I'm gonna see Jordan again. I'm gonna see Jordan again. I gotta focus on that. I'm gonna see it." Like, what about Tuscany? What about? I'm like, don't worry, focus. She's like dying on the ground. I was like, no, you can't go out like this. You can't. You've got to go out like a hero. You are a hero. You absolutely are. Like, you're my hero. Blah blah blah. Gave her gun back and like helped her up, and she went storming back out into the main cavalcade to go down and bullets. Oh, it was beautiful.
I swoon once more.
Did they just open fire immediately? So is that when the actual gunfire happened, or was the gunfight?
I think they were spotted and they were talking, and then
so
the painting hadn't been found.
No, so what happened was, because for some reason Pete inserted himself onto the front lines of this discussion. So the fascists come to town, and it's Johnny, and it's a standoff between, I think Hagen was there and Johnny's character, who was the like head of the fascists at that point.
Benny was definitely up front.
Yeah, Benny was up front with
there as well.
Yeah. It was because Bungle was the most well-armed sound mixer you have ever seen with this Remy and massive dagger. And they're just having this discussion. It's very amicable at this point. It's like, what painting, like I went to go to the prop store. I was like, oh, he just needs a painting. Grabbed the most gaudy painting I could see and was just offering up all of the prop paintings to this guy. And Johnny was just like, no, it is not this painting. I was like, well, you didn't specify.
I'm probably trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah, I know, right? I can play serious characters when I want to. And so some of the security guys are watching the flank, and they notice that some of the fascists are beginning to go round the corner. And it's the guys that are trying to outflank us, because they catch some people off to the side by surprise. That's where the massive gunfire starts.
Okay.
And that's where all of the, like, suddenly the search for the painting becomes a little bit more panicked.
So about maybe 30 seconds to maximum 1 minute after I have sent Gianna out to go down in the best way she possibly can, I turn my head to the right as Hagen comes marching down the next alleyway and catches sight of me, and with just the most intense expression, the most intense eye contact I think I've probably ever had. You know, he's got these bright blue eyes.
Oh my god.
And he's het up already, and like absolutely in the moment, he just looks me dead in the eyes and goes, "Where is Jack? And why is he on a photo from 11 years ago?" And I was like, like sobbing, crying, hysterical, like, I don't fucking know where Jack is. He's just gone again. I don't know. And then the first thing I was like, is they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. Like, he definitely did this. 100%. Of course he did this. Like, there's no doubt about it at this point. But at split second, I had to be like, I guess I'm going to go warn him. So I just like ran after. I don't even know where I managed to find you. I think you were coming out of the bar.
I had been hiding behind a tree with a gun because I knew they were looking for me. And they come towards me and they basically start saying, "Jack, give me an explanation." And I just go into like nervous breakdown mode.
No, you missed it. I ran over because you were coming out of the bar, and I ran over and I was like, "Jack, they know it's you. They notice you. They're going to come and kill you. And we ran through the like chapel bit to get to the other side. And yeah, all I can remember is you just going like, how do they know? How do they know? How did they find out? How did they find out? I was there like, but they're going to kill you. They're going to kill you, Jack. They're going to kill you. Like, what's going on here? And you hid behind a tree because we ran out the back, and you were like ducking behind a tree to try and like keep an eye on the fascists. And I was like, literally like half of the security team are at your back pointing guns, and you don't seem to be like, hello. I was like, don't shoot him, please don't shoot him. Maybe we talk about this. And that's when they got you. But you were like dead focused on the fascists in front of that tree, and they were all right behind you ready to shoot at any point. I don't know if you just didn't see them.
I remember sat in one of the chairs in the green room, gun in hand, which then got taken off me by Hagen and put on the side, and he just sat across me, and I'm just sat there like shaking, and he's like, Jack, where is the painting? And I just keep going, I don't know. How do they find out? How do they find out? How do they know? How the like just having a breakdown. Like I wanted to get away from all this. I wanted to get away from it all. It was just one. All I wanted to come was and then leave. I never wanted to be back. I never should have returned. Over and over. It just like, oh, and then
I just kept being like, we checked. He doesn't have the paintings. We checked the paintings. We checked.
Yeah. There was this beautiful moment where Eleanor looks Jack in the eyes and she says, Jack, tell me you don't know where the painting is. And I said, I don't know. And she looks at him again. She goes, promise. And I just look up and just look at her in the eyes and say, I didn't say anything. And then when you said promise, I just looked her in the eyes and said nothing.
No. Oh,
it was devastating. I was like, oh my God, you actually did do this.
But then I'm sat in the middle of town. It's all a blur. I'm sat on a chair outside the church. And I'm sat there and Nina Romano just comes over to me and sits across from me. And we have a silent exchange. Oh, no, crap.
That's when we went to...
I come into town and Gianna Romano is dead on the floor.
Oh.
And I look at this woman who, going to run away together, sell the painting. She gets taken into the bar. And then Nina Romano sits across from me. And she's like, we've both lost too much. And I just look at her and I say, I didn't kill 4 fucking people. Not to get out of here without this fucking painting.
What? Oh my God, that must have been so cool.
Jack sucked.
Ren's face went like the sudden wash of realization.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of sat there looking at each other. And then who do I see coming out of the bar but Eleanor with a basket in her hands?
Yeah, I don't know. We'd been like taken around by Kitty. I'm not gonna lie. Kitty pointed it out to us, didn't she?
Yeah, so Kitty was like, okay, come in here, it's fine. And then we still couldn't find it. It was actually really well hidden. And then came back in, was like, just grabbed whoever was close. It was pure coincidence, I think, that I was still there because I'd already gone back out. I was like, come and grab this. And so I got this basket.
Ended up going around to the back.
Yeah, oh my God, I didn't even remember it was you.
Well, I was looking for the painting the whole time. I've been told it was me. Again, who the fuck are you? So it doesn't matter. But yeah, it was the Kitty was like, it's here. And I was like,
yeah. So I had this basket, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, there's a painting in there. And I opened it. And I remember this genuine sinking feeling of like, oh no, I have the painting right now. And there's fascists out there that want it, and Jack is obsessed with this thing, and everyone else seems to want it, and Gianna's dead, and I was just like, oh, what do I have no idea what to do. And I remember walking back out and Johnny like locked eyes with me and was like, is that it? Have you got it? And I was like, how do I not get shot right now? I'd like to not get shot. And you came over, like Jack was like charged over, was like, give me the painting. Give me the painting. It's like you like it's so valuable. And I was like, I have a lot of money. And you're like, not this much money. And I was like,
you don't.
Fuck you. I have enough money. So I immediately hid in the chapel and sat down, like clutching this box. And you came in and were like, trying to convince me to give it to you. And Lydia came and sat next to me. And as Lydia came and sat next to me, I think you got distracted by the other people coming in behind us because you turned around. And I said to Lydia, like, take it and go. And so she took the box. and that comes back in about 3 minutes time. But you started reaching for the second gun, and at that point I realized I'm the only person that knows about this other gun. Like there's these people don't know. I mean, you reach in your pocket, it's a fair guess, but they don't seem to have noticed. Like, I can't shout, don't pull the gun, because they're going to immediately shoot you. Like, what else would you do, you know? So I was like, Jack, take your hand out of your pocket, please. Jack, where's your hand in your pocket, please? Jack, don't do that. And at whatever point they managed to figure it out and like wrestle.
It's when I drew the gun on them. That's when they figured it out. Yeah, I drew the gun on them.
That'll do it.
And I got punched in the face. Now the gun wrestled off me and broke down crying on the floor, just in the corner of the church.
Oh my god! I saw you crying on the corner, like you were properly shaking and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's just like this is elite level LARP that I have not subscribed to for this weekend. So I'm just gonna go walk in the other direction.
I'm gonna go and hit a person with the cactus. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I ran out the back to find Lydia and Nina Romano there, both looking very like sneaky, like they were definitely up to something. And Lydia handed the box back to me and went, or held the box and went, "I've got it." And I was like, "Yeah, I can see it." And it was like, "No, I've got it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, right, give me the box then, and you two run and like get out of here. You need to just go. I don't know what's going on, but you need to go." There was a whole little kerfuffle where I had a weird standoff with like between our people, and then there was like the fascists, and they were trying to get this box, and I ended up just sort of chucking it at someone after who was Digby playing again? What was it called?
Benny.
After Benny shot oh my gosh, I've forgotten her name. Was it Ellie? Yeah, Ellie,
the costume assistant.
No. Who was my like sister Icy, like in the script. Shot at point blank. Shot Ellie at point blank. And like it caught me in the cheek, and it was unbelievable. I mean, not like OC point blank, but IC point blank. Yeah. He was obviously very safe about it. And so I legged it, and I went running. And as I got back into town, I just heard.
There must have been another.
They've gone running. No,
no, there must have been.
Maybe.
Whatever it was with the fighting throughout the town at some point during that morning, don't recall much. There was a lot of running about and defending a lot. The only reason I want to bring it up is I had the most satisfying kill on Harry Knight, and it's still one of my fun kills. So bearing in mind that this must have been earlier, I think it was when the fascists turned up before they were demanding the painting. I think there was a bit of a kerfuffle. Again, 6 weeks, who knows? Because there was I definitely rejoined up with your timeline for a brief second before splitting off again. So it definitely was a little bit earlier than that. But I think it was on the right-hand side. We had Digby with the Bren gun on the floor that three of us were having to be Foley for, going bang, 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 bang. It's just sending it down the line as like me and
so
Jay
good
firing one after the other with the 1911s. But yeah, also I obviously had a dodgy finger, so reloading this thing was a pain. But still managed to get stuck in, get in with the fighting, do some good maneuvers. But yeah, Harry Knight huddling up right around the side. He peeks around the tree. I go bang, and he just goes stumbles back, grabbing his shoulder on the floor. And I was like, yeah, that's the only bit I really wanted to bring back up, because I think
that's fine when you go good kill.
The point where the fascists had then gone a bit like, we're killing most people here, because it did just sort of open up. I think I ducked off round, and like I'd ended up at the edge of the woods, as the painting had also arrived there. And I do remember Jack being very stressed, and I remember you being there, and I remember not giving a shit.
Yes. Oh yeah. So I went running off after dumping this box and just like trying to leave them to it, and ran back into town to hear someone, I think it was maybe Hagen, shouting like Jack and Nina have run off with the painting.
Yeah.
Which wasn't true. It wasn't actually what had happened. I don't know how that was, but you know, I was like, okay, I need to keep going. I ran round the back to see Jack and Lydia are actually halfway down the woods. Jack is holding the painting out. It's the first time I'd seen the painting, because I hadn't registered it on the film.
Painting, I'd basically run off with the painting, and I'd run off, got caught. They were slowly escorting me back. They were no longer holding me anymore. I had and then unfilled the painting in front of me so that no one would shoot it. A bunch of security were just like, do you know what? I don't fucking care.
Don't care.
It was me.
Yeah.
You were like, don't shoot me, I'll rip the painting. I was like, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on. Like, how are we going to get around from these fascists? I was like, okay, cool. So at that point, I went and hid in Viking for a minute.
Yeah.
That's so valid.
Like, I'm going to get out of here.
I remember Bung being there because I remember Bung had a rifle out and I was like, please don't shoot, please don't shoot. How did do we know how Lydia got the entire box of the rest of the cursed items?
So this is PTP's cursed box. Basically what happened was the night before we'd stored all of the cursed items in the box and I'd walked around town literally just going, anyone want to see inside my cursed box? Like I wasn't being subtle about it at all. It was just, and it was like this whole thing of suddenly, because I'd been like, this is my cursed box. People can look at it, people can interact with it, but it's my box. It's from the prop store, my box. And we'd hidden it somewhere icy. Like I was just gonna, there was a lot of talk of me just going off to bed with it. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna hog props. So I'll make a really subtle hiding spot for the cursed box. And by subtle hiding spot, I mean it was sticking out of the bottom of a table in the green room. It was not subtle at all. It was like in the middle of nowhere. So I remember PT actually died in the crossfire of the thing, but his last action, I know, right? We all shed a tear. There were quite a lot. But his last action was to tell Lydia where the box was, and get it for her. So yeah, that's how she got them.
I can't remember when Jack was convinced to take the props back to the corpse pit. But at some point we decide that's the direction in which we need to go.
Cool. Do we want to wrap up on that one? Because I can wrap up my bit pretty quickly after that. Because I feel like ours actually ended before yours ended.
Yeah, it did.
So at that point, I see you lot and some fascists like go off into the woods, and we're like, cool. I find Charlie next to me. He's like, I was like, Charlie, hide. And we waited. We then ran back across to see the carnage that was left behind because it was no one left. It was just all of the people sort of grieving. At that point, the security were preparing to leave, doing the final signatures, that sort of thing. There was a whole moment of sort of tears as we realized the people that we'd sort of requested to come with us. Not everyone was here and they were gone and we were having to go, no, we've got to leave them. It's too late. There's moments of like, we've got to go. It was a really amusing moment, especially with just sort of some quiet conversations. At that point, I genuinely had Benny telling me every single crime he had committed over the weekend. I also had the Russell Clark, whatever, the Dillinger gang member, telling me everything he'd done and what he'd done for the literal confession there and then. Just as like small talk, just in case, it was just small talk while we were waiting for everyone to sign everything. So I had everything wrapped up. I knew who the guy was. They'd all committed. They'd all, told me exactly what crimes they committed to the unknown SIS agent. At which point we all get up. We begin to walk. We walk out to the Alamo. We hide away, and we get down to the bottom. At which point Eddie goes, "Time out." For us. So we climbed out all the way down at the Alamo. All of us had got away. We all had our passports. We all had our papers. We had the route out. We had the money, and we had all of the money. We'd taken all of it.
We had so much money.
I think we worked it out. We were all getting like 25 grand each. It was nuts.
Jesus.
So yeah, that was us. And then Eddie goes, and just so everyone knows here, congratulations to our undercover British agent right here. At which point, the Dillinger just goes, "Damn it!" Because Benny already knew the entire time, so they thought he was also going to get sold out. But it was great, and we just had a nice little chat about like what we'd got up to, where we're heading next. And
oh my god,
that was where our LARP ended. We escaped. We fled. We had all the plan. We got all the money, and we fucked off. Beautiful. But yeah, I think you had a little bit of a different ending.
Well, you take it away, guys.
Oh my god. Yeah, just a bit. That's not how it happened for us, that's for sure. All I remember, and I'll only take us up to getting down to the pit maybe, but like we ran off into the woods. We just ran off into the woods. I don't think there was a plan actually at all.
No,
It
I
was
think you're
just
right.
running. And then at some point we got to like down quite far and we were like, there's no one really following us. And we all kind of just looked around and then Morgan just looks at me and goes, tee. And I was like, ah, you bastard. That was amazing. And so we sort of had like a little moment. We were like, we don't really know what to do now because there's no crew here to ask, and we kind of
so
want
like
to
from my
do some
perspective,
stuff.
I wanted any pursuing crew and players to catch up with us. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I was like, it's just me, a crew member, and just two of the players. So I was like, let's give them some time to kind of catch up. So we slowly started to make our way down.
It took them a little while because we ended up going down, I think, just completely unspokenly to the corpse pit without really even talking about it. We just sort of went there, which was really interesting.
Mm.
And then we were there like, we don't really know what to do, but we've all kind of collected, at least Lydia and Eleanor had decided to put all the cursed items back. Like that's what we had decided to do.
I guess from an in-character perspective, obviously we wait for a little bit, but from an in-character perspective, we're like, right, sounds like people are coming. We time is back in again.
I think I asked. I was like, should we just RP through it at the very least, even if we don't know what we're doing?
Poured the cursed objects back in the pit, and then I have the painting.
Amazing, by the way, because I was like, oh my gosh, all these things are cursed. And Lydia was like, no, don't worry. Like, we'll get through it together. And just like grabbed my hand. And I was like, what is going on? This is like, I have no idea what's going on. But we like managed to get all the stuff out safely and like get it through. And then there was just one thing left.
So Jack Danford stood there clutching the painting in his hands, looking at a pit full of people who died 11 years ago because of his actions.
No.
Holding in his hand a painting that he's killed 4 people to get his chance to kind of, maybe buy his way into Hollywood a little bit more. Maybe at this point, actually, to buy a life for him and now his single fiance. And I just have them both begging me to throw it in the pit.
I had
begging
also
me.
already asked you to rip the painting up.
Mm-hmm.
Before we ran, I remember just looking at this horrible, horrible painting. It was a really cool painting. It was really beautiful. But look, I see emotions are what they are. And being like, just rip it. Just get rid of it. And you would not get rid of it at all. Absolutely refused to. So there was just this one moment. And I was like, look, we're probably going to go out here. So this is my one chance to get this like final moment. I just kind of walked over and was like, Jack, I'm so sorry that this has been your life. I'm sorry that you felt you had to do all these things. Like, I'm sorry, like you'd been weeping over, like, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't want to do it. It was like, this is just how it happened. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But I don't want to die here. So please, I really don't want to die here. Please put the painting in the pit. Please just let go of it. And you did. Oh, that was a moment.
I did it. And then who should come around the corner? But our authenticity coordinator appeared.
Oh my god.
No. Oh no. No.
First.
Johnny appeared in the with the deepest V in his shirt you've ever seen.
It was a very good V.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know if I can talk about this. He slowly saunters over with his gun, and he's like, "I think I recognize you, don't I?"
That was horrible too. Just want to.
And I was like, at this point,
horrible.
at this point, I'd said that I had accidentally left the gate open, which is how the people had gone last time. He says, "Jack doesn't sound right though." I was like, "Jonathan Danford." He's like, "That's it. That's it. Yeah, we've worked together before."
Oh.
He says,
Millie, my brain was exploding.
Oh god.
He says, "You let us in 11 years ago." And I'm just there with my hands up like, I didn't know it would come to this. I didn't know this would happen. I didn't know. I never would have done it.
Oh
And
no.
I was like, please leave the painting in there. We need to live, lay the souls to rest, please. He's like,
Put it in the curse.
is that all your friends? Well, it only seems right that you joined them.
What?
Lydia was like, please, look, you don't understand. It's cursed. Like, it's cursed. We need to end this curse. And he's like, all right.
He says,
Well, if you want to end the curse, there's one more person.
Oh my god.
We're like, oh no.
so
What the fuck?
So I, sobbing, hands in the air, step down into the pit. And then Johnny's pointing the gun at me. I can't remember who said.
I think he said something about like, you should do it yourself. Or are you going to make someone else do it for you?
I looked at Eleanor and I said, don't let them kill me. Please don't let me die to a fascist.
Oh no.
Eleanor, please. And
it got
you're
real
just
personal at the end, Millie. It got really
like
personal.
honestly, like I was like, oh my Jesus Christ. Okay.
And he starts telling her how to use a gun.
I was like, I don't know how to fire it. I don't know how to fire that.
Literally...
It's the only thing I could think of. I don't know how to fire it. And he was like, okay, cocks the gun for me. Like, it's 100% ready to go. And I was like, I went into complete shutdown mode. Like, OC was like, I have no words and no actions. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
At all. Like, it was, I've never been so actually at an actual stunned loss for what she did. I was so aware as well that I was like, I'm doing nothing. I need to do something. And I just could not do anything.
I look her in the face. I look her in the eyes and I say, I'll send Gianna your love.
Oh my god.
It was very rude.
But then...
Oh my god. I don't think I actually would have shot the gun ever, but I was really close.
Lydia had a gun. And she drew that gun and she shot Johnny. And then all of a sudden, guns everywhere.
Bang, 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 bang.
Everywhere. I collapse into the ditch. Lydia goes down. Eleanor, do you go down at this point?
Right. So Lydia's gun goes off past me into Johnny. Johnny drops. So at this point, I'm facing Jack. I've got Johnny on my left and Lydia on my right. Lydia had this like thigh holster. That's why her dress was hiked up for so much of the day. And I just did not clock it. She shoots him. He goes down. I have this gun. So I kind of like swung around, shot the only other fascist I knew was there at the time. There were apparently more. I like shot at and had no idea what was going on. After I'd seen Jack like duck down into the corpse pit and I was like, I think he's hiding. I don't know. He might be dead. And then as I'm doing that, Johnny rises up next to me. Not dead. Gives this beautiful, like really smug grin. Lifts the gun directly at me and just shoots. And I was like, that's me. I'm out. I'm done. I'm 100% dead at this point. And
Johnny, you beautiful bastard. This is so good.
Everything that happened after that point. Lydia didn't die.
Actually, I crawled out of the pit. For some reason I wasn't in the pit. And then, hang on. No, that was it. I was in the pit, dying, and I looked across from me, and what was there but the cursed knife? So I grab it.
What did that cursed knife make you do?
Crawl out of the pit, grab Johnny, and just start stabbing the shit out of Johnny. Try to kill him. And then I get kicked back into the corpse pit, and they come in, and they're ready to finish me off. And I grab the painting, hold it, just say, fuck you, rip the painting, as they're all standing around, and they're like, you just cost us $40,000. And I laughed. I said, you need a better art dealer, my friend. It's worth much more than $40,000.
Oh my god.
And they say, we were going to make this quick.
Oh my god.
They jump down into the pit. They get this massive hammer and they swing it once into his guts. and then once again slam onto his head.
Let me tell you,
What
it
a
was
fucking
wild
ending.
listening to this.
Yeah.
We had Elsie May in the distance calling our names but couldn't respond because we were being held at gunpoint. They came running in. All I could hear once I was dead, which is so weird, like hearing what happened after you die, right? But was just more gunshots, this stabbing, this horrible noise, and then this like horrible death in the pit as they like bludgeoned Jack to death. And I was like, oh my god, that was brutal, but also like
That's like
hey,
that.
good
Like
story, but wow.
I was because originally I died and then I come back as this weird French woman and I'd missed everybody leaving and going off into town. And I was like, oh, I'll just sit and chill with the crew because the battle's always in the town, right? Nobody ever goes out of the town on a Sunday. And then everybody comes back and I was like, oh, I missed it. And now I'm really mad I missed it.
Yeah,
so
look, they
good.
found us, I think, quite late. Oh, there was one more thing. It's
Oh
only
my
a moment.
God.
It's only a moment that's really precious to me because it makes me laugh every time I think about it. Is when Johnny was like, "Oh, you know, so maybe someone else is going to have to do it for you." And Jack looked at Eleanor. I had Ellie behind me, being like, "Is he asking me to shoot him?" I was like, I don't think so. No offense, but I think he's probably looking at me at this point. Just the sense there that I'm getting, and I was like, that's really lovely, but I think maybe the narrative is not where you think it's at.
Oh my God.
And there was just a beautiful moment of like, oh yeah, nope, that's me. And then yeah, we got carried back. So a bunch of people came in to get and check, and Lydia was not dead. Which was incredible. I'm so proud of her. Oh yeah, also I couldn't reload the gun. That's partially why Johnny got me and I didn't get Johnny. It's because the gun just like stopped.
Blame the gun.
Millie, this is why I told you I
gun.
need gun shooting lessons.
God.
I had no idea what I was doing. And they carried us all back, right? So obviously we walked back up the top. Morgan slips off to go and be a stinky crew member or something. And then we were like grabbed, like carried back in. And as I'm like being slumped along, first of all, I hear Evelyn be like, I'm going to put your body next to Gianna's. And I was like, oh God, why? Oh God, that hurts. And then we're just about to come right into town and I just hear action. And I was like,
oh yeah,
filming? They are filming a scene right now, and I am dead being carried into this town.
So it wasn't even a scene. So what happened was, all of this had gone on. We're all just chilling out in town, and we hear loads of gunfire going off. And then it's the most beautiful moment where we're all just sitting around thinking about what we do. And I look at the camera, and I look back, and I look at the camera again, and we basically had costume, we had the camera operator, so we had the crew, and I was like,
you had Clark and Alicia too, right?
Yes, we did. And I was like, guys, we've got a crew, and for the first time in our lives we have silence in the town. Let's make a movie.
I can't believe you did a fucking snuff film.
Like, hey guys, the most key motivation was that we got to make the film no matter what, right?
Oh my God.
It's so rough and so good.
We technically protected the investment in the sense that we took the investment and ran.
Yeah, I say that was protecting.
Yeah,
didn't fall into any fascist hands, that's for sure.
That's true. But we didn't really know about the painting. Like
what an
painting.
ending, though.
I know.
That's
and then the best part of it all, I think, was sitting dead in the bar with a bunch of people and just hearing "cut" from outside and just being like, what a perfect way to end.
It was so good.
Perfect way to call the time out on a cut. Absolutely spectacular. Oh my God.
What a game. Work the Larp. 10 out. It was so good.
So, yeah, that's why I did not emotionally recover from this game. I went into this game as embedded crew, going to be like, you know, the bad guy for the game. That's what I was going to be. I was going to be the guy who's there to just steal a thing, kill some people, steal a thing. and then just the kind of the story that ended up coming from this, like pushed by the players, was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And yeah, crazy, absolutely insane.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it really was. For me, I think it's a perfect LARP, genuinely.
I love how
know I got
different
lucky,
each of our LARPs were. Like, it's so good.
And you wanna know the best thing? I was going to an actual villa in Tuscany the following week. So
Amazing.
Freddie made it to Tuscany.
It's really funny. I went off on the holiday to my friends in like Poole, and it looked like a Tuscan villa, so I kind of got there, but it was amazing. It was so good. I think I got really lucky in that I accidentally ended up in a lot of scenes and like in this narrative path that I hadn't necessarily been intended for or intended myself for. Like, if you hadn't been Embedded Crew, Morgan, it would have been a completely different story. You probably would have just liked on the Sunday, and that's like what it is, or run away or whatever.
Like,
but that whole thing by pure accident. Oh my god.
It was really funny as well, because a real defining factor of how a lot of this game went was the fact that Ruth and I were going to be ball gowning at Eldritch Isle. So we'd already had ball gowning conversations. So when the opportunity came around for her to do it on the Friday night, we were good to go. And because of that, everything Jack became a much richer character, which I thought was really cool, natural how it came up. It was crazy, absolutely crazy.
It's interesting. You came in like that. The security, we'd all played Oasis 2, Oasis 1, and we'd come into this going, we're gonna survive. So like we'd had planned for that, and that's basically what happened. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was such an intense LARP, but it was one of those LARPs that the whole thing, the verisimilitude of the entire thing, the setting, the character, it just felt so in character, the entire thing for me. And it's probably the most LARP like
the verisimilitude, yes.
The verisimilitude.
Yeah, I totally agree. I understand exactly what that means.
I'm
Yeah.
It feels lifelike, even if it isn't.
Indeed.
It feels like real life, even if it isn't.
The verisimilitude, indeed,
there
to
you
too.
God, it's talked about in a lot of like role play game stuff. I'm too deep.
No, I loved it. Like, I need you to become my LARP encyclopedia, please.
The appearance of being true or real. It felt real.
I thought on here. Yeah, it was really good. It was narratively really beautiful, I think.
Yeah.
Was the whole thing. Like I've had LARP deaths before, and I've had LARP deaths since. And this I know, right? And like this one was really good. It was the right I went into the whole thing with the goal of dying. Because I like the whole thing with Oasis 1 was that I didn't die, and was one of the very few people that was true for. And I was like, I really want to die. Like, I don't want to cling on to it in the same way that I did in.
And ironically, I think I did the opposite to you, because Oasis 1, I went in going, I'm going to die. And played that.
I was ready to die Oasis 1, and then when it came down to it, I was like, no, I got to survive. My instincts are too strong. But yeah, it was really good, and it was the timing was perfect. I mean, the narrative stronghold was unbelievable, because if we hadn't had so much time to chat on the Saturday to make that first initial friendship, then we wouldn't have been talking in the evening. If I hadn't had this, like, there was a whole like little thing where like Gianna and Eleanor were going to have a musical scene together that was never quite written, and there was all this like, okay, but like, who's going to be the star of that scene? Which then made this whole conversation about Clark and Saturday Evening even better. The fact that she was the one with the necklace and then I was the one with the necklace, it just kind of kept tying things back together. The even like finding the painting, like we'd gone to look for it, couldn't find it. I'd walked outside. Kitty walked out of the bar, grabbed me and said, "Go and get the painting. Is here. I've got it." Like, I could have walked too far away for that to be the moment. It's all of those little things that, I mean, again, I got so lucky, but you know,
I think it's
gods, they know.
I'd be so fascinated to learn about like the writing element that goes into these kind of style of LARPs, because you legitimately cannot predict how the players are going to react, who's going to be doing the thing, and how it's going to play out. And I think this is something that that Oasis 2 did really well was the adaptability. Like they just kept rolling with the punches and just kept on going. And I think, yes, there were times where Kitty and other crew members helped us along by just giving us little hints and things, but it was so beautifully done that I loved it. And I think like Morgan, like you did this with the fact that you were embedded crew, like having that element of people that know the story and know where they need to be and how they need to do it. It just helps it.
I was feeding like a bunch of stuff back to crew. At times, I was like, I feel like I'm, give me more things. It's like maybe it will cause more trouble. But then it was like, it was just very cool being able to feed stuff back to crew, and they were able to move things around and change things as we went along. And I just, it was an absolutely fantastic crewing experience. It literally it took the trauma of Eldritch Isle to displace this game from my head.
Yeah,
like I was chatting to Ruth and Mattie for like the full time afterwards, just being was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
The amount of times I sent you a message being like, wait, but what about this thing that you did? And you were like, yeah that too.
So good. The layers, man, the layers.
Yeah.
It was really, I mean, it's so nice to be so immersed in characters in a game. Like I've talked about this a lot, how I much more prioritize like the interpersonal like plot that you create rather than like overarching plot. That's always more important to me. And that really was exquisite. I mean, it was excellent. We had an incredible group of players who also knew the first Oasis game mostly, which I think really helped.
In the same way you were saying, they adapted really well. They also gave everyone so much time to breathe. The setting itself of being a film set just allows for all of that constant small talk interaction. Allows for the breathers, so it really allows the sort of pacing
and it keeps everyone together.
Yeah,
because we were talking, Sol and I, afterwards about the differences between 1 and 2, and one of the main differences being that they took out the researcher archetype. And I think it really did lean, like, it lent itself more to then keeping everyone in one place. Which meant that things felt like you were all together as a team, rather than everyone's trying to compete for plot stuff, right? If your big scene is happening, generally most of us were all in the same place, or you had a reason to be all in the same place. Like even when we weren't filming, we were there watching what was going on. And that kept it really nice and tight and neat together. But also, it gave us a lot of reasons to just be doing stuff without having to invent stuff to do. And it was part of the reason why I played a character who was so dedicated to, making the movie, because I wanted to be able to, in those moments where things start to go really pear-shaped, be like, no, we need to focus up so we don't go off the rails too quickly. And in the end, I didn't really need to, because it just worked the way it did. And I think part of that is because a lot of players had been at 1 and knew kind of what, like, everyone wants to build a story. To win the game in some LARPs, we know this. But everyone, I think, generally who played Oasis 2 wanted to build a story. And that was, even if it was completely different genres of story, it meant that we were all on the same team of like, let's make this go pacing wise as well.
I think it's something that like LARPs are starting to do, where you have that kind of background motivation, like the whole thing of like each one of the cast, the crew, the security, they each had their own motivation. It worked really well. I think it was just a brilliant LARP, like full stop. I will sing its praise until the cows come home.
Oasis 3 when?
Please, soon.
They have said, so
I do really love that, like, because Kitty in the debrief said, and we'll end it on this one because I think it's a brilliant thing, is the fact that Kitty didn't think that there was going to be an Oasis 2 after Oasis 1 until someone said, but what about a bear cast member?
Yep.
and that's what brought it on, and I just love that. I love that so much.
The most professional actor on all the film set.
Still
out there, Princess.
Princess made it.
So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys.
That's a wrap.
Oh my god.
Thank you everyone for playing. I hope you enjoyed it. Truly enjoyed.
I'm
crew.
so glad that nobody took any kind of
Zero
revenge
out of
in
10.
becoming embedded crew or doing anything like that. Like, who would do such a horrible thing?
Somebody started a trend.
Yeah, this is the crazy thing. I think I had it last year with Hoist, but like originally LARP season ended with E4. Now
Yeah.
it never ends. Now it never ends.
No.
Terrible.
There is no
Never does.
end.
No. And then we're all into player event season, and it's all going off again. Oh my
And
god,
stuff
it's
again.
crazy. You guys, thank you so much for sticking with me for these 6 weeks, guys. I appreciate
Thanks
you
for
all.
having us,
No
Millie.
worries.
Thank you all.
It's
You.
all
Where
right.
do we send the invoice for?
So you get paid in exposure.
Hang on.
So yeah. So
Would that maybe
That's not in the contract.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
hey.
Sorry. If you once we finish this recording session, there's a grip around the corner that's ready to give you that exposure. So
What kind of what show are you running?
Unfortunately, Millie, if you scroll down in Mr. Hagen's contract, it was actually in there already as well.
Oh well, yeah. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Now get back into the fucking basement, you lot.
Jokes on you, I like it here.
I think Tom's made a little tunnel from the lighthouse into the basement, so we'll have to find out where the Shattersong is. Do you guys want to talk about where you can find yourselves so that we can do a little bit of social media promotion? Why not?
Oh yeah, is this the exposure bit?
Yeah, this is the exposure bit.
This is the
We got 3 episodes. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, you can find Mattie and I at the Dead Shattersong Diaries at the minute. I don't know where else you'll find us.
What about you, Morgan?
You can find me on the Larps and Tarps podcast, the UK's best LARP and TARP based podcast.
Wow.
You can also find me on, Instagram.
How many awards have you won, Morgan?
One. We have a TARP. We have a TARP award. We won a TARP.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'll show you a picture. We have a genuine physical tarpy.
Oh my god, amazing.
Yeah, so you can find me at Larps and Tarps. I'm also on Instagram at Glorious Larper.
Yeah, you are. Right. I love you all very much. I will
you.
see you on the next one.
Bye.
We can do this, everyone. I believe in us.
Your mic doesn't sound like crap this week, Millie.
Why, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a shame that the stuff that comes out of my mouth is just as crap as before.